Hey everybody, hey all YouTubers. I hope everybody's doing well, especially all the new content creators. I wish you guys much success. So please keep going, keep challenging yourself, don't give up. Continue posting, continue to keep yourselves motivated and keep rising to the top. So go new content creators. I'm so happy for everybody. I'm so happy. I want everybody to win. I want everybody to make it. So let's keep each other motivated. Make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing. It is free. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. Support costs nothing. To hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. That's the like button. Comment on your on different people's content. That helps. And continue sharing. Everybody keep sharing and supporting each other. I came out here because I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's extremely important. And as much as everybody says it seems that sometimes, it's the message still doesn't get through. And it is a topic that nobody really likes to talk about, but we all have to deal with it. And that is when a person passes away or a family member passes away, then it's kind of like, what do I do now, or what's next? So let's talk about what can be done to help the situation before that even happens, or just in case, or when it does happen. The biggest issue is once the person passes, if they don't have a will, that becomes a huge problem for everybody. So we all know that day is going to come, so it's best to do preparation. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it. They always think that that's the worst thing in the world, or oh, don't wish death on me, or don't say that, or but it's going to happen to everybody. So why not just go ahead and be prepared, or save your kids a headache, or your kids save your parents a headache, or save your family a headache, or keep everybody from having to be in an uproar, or mad at each other, or tearing people apart. We know what it's like when you have someone that passed away. And then that's when the tension rises in families, and they're torn apart, or people say hateful things to each other, or do hateful things to each other, when something as simple as a will, or some people say will, some people say last will and testament, or your final desires. It doesn't matter how we say it, or how you put it in words. At the end of the day, it needs to be something in place so that it can resolve a lot of this tension that families go through. Because I don't think anybody ever talk about the after effects. Or the thing is, it's always like we see stuff happen, but it's all, everybody feels like, oh well, that ain't gonna happen to me, or that can't happen in our family, or we'll never do that. Never say never, because that never does come. And it's like, I had friends, I've had family, I've seen it where families are just, they can be so close when one particular person, whether it be a grandmother, or the backbone of the family, or the person that kept the family together, or somebody that's truly loved and missed. But once that person is gone and there's no will in place, then that's when the tension and the fighting and stuff start. And of course, if people only understood how bad this can be, then they would understand why it's better to prepare and have something in place before this happens. You can alleviate all of that. It's no need to leave people back with a burden of having to try to decipher what the person desires was, when it was simply something as simple as putting it down on paper. And a lot of people are afraid and think that, oh, well, I don't have the money to pay a lawyer, or I don't have that type of money to get a will done. Well, you don't have to actually have a lawyer involved, because I'm going to just give you the basics. But if you have a big estate and it's you have a lot of material things, then it is best to have a lawyer in place to make sure that you get your desires, and you get your desires, and you get to have a say so as to who you want to have your possessions and how you want them to be distributed. And that way you don't have to deal with all the headache of the legalities of it. It's best to have a lawyer in place. But if it's something that is not going to be so complicated, that's something that you can do yourself, because you know who you want to have what. And it's as simple as you writing it down on paper. In some states, they say it's legal that you can do it oral, but to just make sure that, I mean, for me and my comfort level, I would, for my loved ones, I would rather have it written down on paper as to who should get what. And that way it would be no question as to what I was thinking when this happens to me. So that would be the best suggestion. Even in the states that say, oh, you could just say it orally. No, because what happens is it still leaves those family members torn apart. And it's not something that you have to discuss with your family. But if it's in writing and it's in a safe place, and, you know, when you feel like the time is right, or you find the one that you need to feel that's the one that's going to be trustworthy, that will do what's right by that paperwork, then you can discuss with them where it is and, you know, what needs to be done just in case in an emergency. So I know for the state of Georgia, it is, I'm going to give you some of the requirements because I want to make sure I get it right. So I try to write stuff down so you guys will know exactly what the requirements are and what you have to do, so that you won't have to go through the headache. It's a matter of you taking out a pen and piece of paper. That's the first thing you need to do. Is like we always say, whenever you're doing anything, it's all a matter of starting, not a matter of procrastinating or saying, oh, I could just do it later, or oh, I got time. You know, time will catch you, and it could catch you off guard. So you don't never know when. So it's best to already sit down and have that stuff planned out, because anything can happen. You could be in an unexpected accident, any kind of freak accident. You just never know. You never know. So it's best to go ahead while you already in your right mind and you in good health, or you know what you need to get done and what you want to happen. It's best to go ahead and put it down on paper. That's the main thing, is just getting it down on paper. And then after we get it down on paper, I just want to make sure I say everything right to you guys, and that's why I wrote these notes. So some things it's called is the last will and testament, like I said. Some people say my final wishes. Some people be like, who I want to manage my estate. Some people say how I would like my possessions to be handled. So just make sure on the top of that paper, you make sure you write the heading: last will and testament, will, my final desires upon death. Make sure that that's clear on the very top of that paper, and it says that in your handwriting. Nobody else's, your handwriting. Or if you want to type it up, that's fine too. As long as the signatures are correct, that's what's going to count. After you do that, you need to know, if you don't do that first step, if you don't make the first step and something happens to you, God forbid, like we always say, the power of our tongues. But if something does happen to you and you don't have that last will and testament, or a will in place, then the courts take over at that point, and they decide what's going to happen with your belongings and who's going to get them, or the state gets them and nobody gets anything, or the property that you have, and I'm sure we've all heard this, becomes heir property, so nobody ever owns the property, which makes no sense, because that's still a burden and a headache on family. Because at the end of the day, it's best to just go ahead and say, leave it to the entire family. Just put it in the will and say, I'm leaving the properties to the entire family, or, you know, or whoever you desire to leave it to. And if you don't have anybody you desire to leave it to, donate it to charity. And if you're not going to give it to charity, then at least put on there leaving it to all family to have somewhere to go, because that way at all times, it stays in the family instead of it just saying heir property. And then you got family members arguing over something that nobody will ever own. So that makes no sense. The next thing I'm gonna talk about the requirements, so that you guys can actually make sure you get everything correct. I want to make sure I tell you correctly, just in case, because I know a lot of people may not want to go to an attorney. They want to do it themselves, or just something quiet, because a lot of people like to keep certain things private, and I get that. So if you decide that you want to write it down and just keep it private, or you may want to put it in a Bible, or your safe place where to put stuff. So I'm just going to say, just make sure when you write it out that it says you need a written document. Some states you could do oral or verbal. But if you live in Georgia, I'm going to tell you without a doubt, it has to be a written statement. You need to write down everything and who you desire to have each thing, or if it's one person, name that person that you want to get everything, and I mean everything that you want them to have, down to a piece of cotton. If it's a piece of cotton ball you want them to have, just make sure you write that cotton ball on that paper, because if you don't, then there are so many sneak ways that people can come in and do stuff and take possession of stuff, and it's nothing that person can do if that piece of cotton ball is not written on that paper. So please be very, very, very specific when you write down the things that you want each person to have. This is the beginning of eliminating families having to fight, argue, and hate each other for materialistic stuff that cannot go in the grave with none of us. Because none of us have ever seen a hearse, a U-Haul behind a hearse, or a U-Haul in front of the hearse. Never. With all the possessions in it, and saying that they're going with you wherever you're going. We've never seen that. You're never going to see that. So resolve these issues while you got breath in your body. And like people say, well, they might die before I do it. I'm not doing that because I don't want to. There's nothing. We all going down that road. We all got to leave here. So this is not nothing new. You knew when you were born. It tells you in the Bible, surely as you was born, you were going to die. We all know this. And it's not really death, because the Bible doesn't speak of death. It says, oh death, where is thy sting? But when you transition over into the next life, then you won't even be thinking about this possessions that the Bible tells you going to rust and can't go away anyway. Or somebody just going to trample over it, or they're not going to love it the way you did. You valued it, but they don't. I see it all the time where kids don't want the family possessions. I've seen it down to the people say, so do you want these pictures of your family member? I had somebody tell me, no, I sure don't. It shocked me. I was like, but these are your family photos. It's like, no, I still don't want them. So, yeah, I've seen that a lot. So, and I've seen a lot of people getting rid of a lot of stuff because they just don't want no memories. And sometimes you never know what happened in those situations, and it doesn't even matter. But the point is, if you write these things down and say who you want to have what, then we don't have to worry about the families being torn apart or people hating each other over simple stuff that could have been resolved. And it's starting to become more prominent nowadays than ever. And especially with people leaving here unexpectedly and they never said who they wanted to have, whatever. Or some people can say it clearly and people still upset, but it doesn't matter. Once it's in writing and all these requirements I'm giving you are done, then that eliminates it, whether they want to be upset or not. Make sure the age requirement, the person has to be 14 or above in order to do a last will and testament or a will. You have to be 14 and above to do it. Number 3, you have to have is 4 requirements. You have to have the capacity, and you have to be a testamentary is what they call it, which is the capacity to do something successful. Really, just the capacity to explain to them what you want done, and you are in your right mind. You're not being forced to do this. This is what you want. This is not something that somebody's telling you to do. These are your desires and your wishes. So that's what you need, the capacity to be able to express this to in front of a judge, or this is really going to a judge or anybody that has a problem with wanting to know who's going to get what. It's here in black and white. It's got the requirements on it, and that's the end of the story. So if anybody want to be mad, give them a crying towel, go right ahead. But this is going to be the person's wishes. So we don't have to have kids fighting, step kids fighting, outside kids fighting, or surprise kids fighting. Nobody has to fight when they know exactly what the person desired. And last thing is you need to sign it. That's what's most important. You need to sign your will. Once you sign the will, you need 2 witnesses. Not 2 people that's going to inherit anything. Nobody that's going to on that list that's going to inherit anything on that list can sign. You need 2 witnesses. 2 people that don't stand to benefit from this will whatsoever. It doesn't matter. It can be 2 strangers. It doesn't matter who you get, but that you need 2 witnesses to sign that will. Some require, if you can get it notarized, that's great. But if you don't, it's still gonna be a will. As long as you got your signature and 2 witnesses, then it's still gonna be your will, and it's still gonna be a valid will. It's still gonna be valid. It's still gonna be usable and permissible in court. So nobody can argue and say that it's not valid, but if it has all the requirements. And again, I'm gonna go over those 4 requirements so you'll understand exactly what they are for your final will, your last will. If you want to write it at home on a piece of paper and get these 2 witnesses, you sign it and the 2 witnesses sign it, it's still valid. So let me tell you one more time. I'm just going to reiterate what you need to have. Number 1, write it down. That's first and foremost. Write it down. When I say it down, what we say on the top is going to say last will, however you want to put it, my last wishes upon death, however you want to put it. It needs to say that on the very top so that nobody get confused. Then it needs to have a list of all your possessions. Then you need to put who you want to inherit what possession. If it's a car and you want to give it to Bobby, make sure you put the model of the car, make of the car, year of the car, and Bobby can have the car. This is Bobby Joe, or John Doe, we'll say, can have the car. If it's a house, you need to have whoever gets that house, you need to have their name on there clearly. If it's more than one house, their name, which each person that is to get what house, and please be specific. Wherever the house is located, that needs to be on there so that we'll know which house you're talking about if you have more than one house. And then you just go down the list like that, each thing. I don't care if, like I said, you can get down to a piece of cotton ball. Whoever gonna get that cotton ball, their name needs to be on that cotton ball. And if the cotton ball is red, blue, black, green, or gray, it needs to be on there, telling them which cotton ball they gonna get. Then you need to have age requirement. You need to be 14 years old or 1,000 if you want to be. 14 to 1,000, we'll say. So that way you'll have the age requirement checked off. Then you need to have the capacity in your right mind. Nobody's forcing you. You're doing this because this is what you desire and what you want. Doesn't matter who's going to get mad. Doesn't matter about all the little petty stuff, because none of that's going to matter anymore. At the end of the day, what's going to matter is this is what needs to happen, and this is going in place, because my thought process is I'm worried about making sure that no one has to be, the family's not torn apart or hating each other over something that I wanted to happen. So this is why this is going in place. And then last but not least, you need to make sure you have the signatures. The signatures on there should be your signature. Extremely, 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 extremely important. And then your 2 witnesses. People that are not getting anything, saying to get any kind of benefit from that will. You need 2 of those 2 people. They could be strangers or 2 people that you know, 2 friends, but they're not getting anything in that will. Then that's what you need, 2 witnesses. And once you got all these things together, then we now have a valid will. We have a family that won't be torn apart. We got people that won't be mad at each other. The only person that's standing to be mad is somebody that's not going to get anything from it. They're not getting anything. Yeah, they're going to be mad. But that's why it's good to consider how you treat people when they're living. Not just when they're sick and down and out, even when they're up and healthy. It's about being in people's lives, showing up, being supportive, and being there for them. So when something does happen, then they'll have something for you. And if not, then guess what? Love them anyway. Love conquers all. But at the end of the day, this is extremely important. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I don't want people to think it's something hard to do. It's so many families being torn apart because of what somebody didn't leave or didn't say, or they don't understand. Once it's in black and white, there's no reason to get mad. There's no reason to argue. That's what the person wanted, and that's just the bottom line. And that's what the judge is going to honor. And if we can't get that done and you can't do it right, then guess what? The judge will take over and he'll do it himself. He'll figure out who's going to get what. He'll just sell it all and just tell them to divide the monies up. You might get a penny, or you might get nothing. Nobody might not get the nothing. The state could take it all. How about that? And you don't want that. So in order to avoid that, make sure you do a will. And that's all I have to say for this part. Y'all have a great day. Continue supporting each other. Continue to challenge. Continue to be a better you. Continue to put others before you and let God exalt you. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.